The coffee will help and kick in.
About an hour too late after the...
No, I can already feel it because I'm starting to tear up.
Ooh, don't do that.
It's not emotional tears, it's the tears of caffeine. You wouldn't know.
Caffeine.
You wouldn't know.
Starring Daniel Day-Lewis.
Pussy. What?
Tears of Caffeine. It sounds like an Oscar bait film, and it would have like...
Tears of Caffeine.
Yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis in it, and he'd be like a...
Or it sounds like the name of Jared Leto's next band.
It could be. Maybe Jared Leto's also in the film and releases an accompanying album to go with it. Oh my god! And it would be like Daniel Day-Lewis play. It's like 3.5 hours long, and he plays a barista.
Oh, I'd see that.
Desperate to make the perfect coffee.
Do you remember that film that Clint Eastwood made and put himself in the lead role in like mid to late 70s? And he wrote it, and he wrote in that he had 4 different threesomes in this film.
Hello and welcome to Cruise Next. My name is James Albarn. I am joined, as ever, by Elsa Grace. How are you, Elsa?
Oh.
Yeah, good.
Are you gonna?
I started doing another sentence before I'd even let you say if you were good or not.
Were you about to be like, I'll tell you how you are? Great. That's what I thought you were doing. All right, Dick Van Dyke. Yeah, I'm fine. Carry on. Not that you care.
The thing that just suddenly popped into my head is that I had an intro to this podcast pre-planned in my head, and I didn't do it.
Oh,
and
you
it's
fucked
sad
it.
now, yeah.
Do it now, and they can pretend they haven't seen this.
Well, I was just going to do a cowboy voice, but it's fine. I'm not going to do it now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sad.
Maybe we'll get to it later. Why would I be doing a cowboy voice, Elsa? Well, because Elsa.
What are you doing?
Viewers, what?
Why are you calling me Elsa so much? They know we're doing Cowboys and Aliens. It's in the title, and you announced it last week.
I need to know where you came from.
So do I. What the hell?
We need you.
What is that thing? Why are you asking me? Because you've shot it. We need every gun we can get. And they're gonna wipe us out.
Who is she?
She's the only one who knows who I am.
You know who you are. You just have to remember.
Grab your guns. We're riding out. Come on! We gotta get our people out!
We have one advantage. They underestimate you.
So we step in. Looks like he's doing fine.
Elsa, tell the lovely viewers and listeners at home or on their commute or wherever they may be about...
On a flight.
Or on a flight.
Like your dad.
Like my dad. About Cowboys and Aliens.
Is it Cowboys and Aliens, or is it Cowboys versus Aliens?
It's Cowboys and Aliens.
Don't you feel like it should be versus?
I've got issues with the title.
Okay, we'll just
Anyway,
I'll get into the film. Cowboys and Aliens, 2011, directed by Jon Favreau. It is set in 1873 in Arizona, and we open up our film on a dazed and confused and injured Daniel Craig. He's a cowboy, I have to say that. And he has a severe case of insomnia, and we learn as the character learns that he is an outlaw called Jake Lonergan. And Drake Lonergan. And him and his fellow cowboys are fighting aliens.
You missed out the first hour of the...
I know, I'm not going to go minute by minute. We don't need to. This film's absolutely empty. But he bands together with like rivaling cowboys and with... I'll just say it, even though you don't find this out until later. An alien, which is Olivia
Wilde.
Yeah, Olivia Wilde. Wilde. And then the first peoples of that land. And that's a whole scene that I had problems with it.
2011, different times.
And essentially, Olivia says, this group of aliens, they came to my planet, they killed all of my people, and now they're coming for your planet. And the aliens that are here right now are just the scouts.
And they're mining gold as well.
Why? They're mining gold. And then she was like, you have to kill the scouts and kill the ship, otherwise they will just go back and they will bring more aliens and your planet will be dead. So that is the goal. And there's a large fight at the end.
There is.
They beat the aliens. They kill all the aliens, thanks to Olivia Wilde, who sacrifices herself. Honestly, they couldn't have done it without her. And then that is the end of the film.
And Daniel Craig has woken up and has amnesia because he was kidnapped by aliens.
He was, yeah.
And he escaped, and he's got this metal bracelet on his wrist that is also an alien gun.
So it's the weapon of the aliens, and as an alien is about to start harvesting his organs, he takes off his gun, and Daniel accidentally slaps his hand down on the gun, and
then that's how he escapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Killer cast. As we said, Daniel Craig, Olivia Wilde. It also has Harrison Ford is one of the meaner cowboys.
He's the gruff cowboy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His son is played by Paul Dano.
Yeah. Sam Rockwell.
Jesus, all these people are so underused. It actually hurts my brain.
Sam Rockwell, isn't it?
Really strong cast. Very strong cast. For what?
Ooh.
For what? We actually haven't spoken at all about how we felt about this film, but I feel like it's becoming quite clear how I feel about this film. I fucking hated it.
Did you?
I was so bored all the way through this film.
Wow.
I only just woke up in the last... So the first 15 minutes...
Do you like cowboys and or aliens?
Independently, sure.
Right.
And that was the issue. Like, the first 15 minutes of the film where it's just a Western, I was like, yeah, fuck with this. And then... The last fight or whatever, I kind of got into that because I thought there was some cool action sequences. But I'm also like, maybe I was more paying attention because I was worried about the horses getting hurt. I think if this had been a film about aliens, I would have been like, great. If it was a film about cowboys, great. But together, it was so confused and... just kind of lazy writing. Why were the aliens mining gold?
Why do you need to know?
It's just never explored.
But like, why do they need to? It's not really the point.
Because that was a big plot point of where like he had some gold, and the reason why he and his hoor were originally abducted, his partner is referred to as the hoor because she...
I don't think they do it in a Scottish accent.
Yes, they do. They do. He's Scottish, the guy, and he keeps going, is that your hoor? Your hoor? And then he's like, you call her a whore one more time. And he's like, hoor. And then
I couldn't tell whether he was supposed to be Scottish or if he was just doing a bad
he was, whatever he was.
Bad cowboy.
But that's the reason they're originally abducted is because the aliens sense the gold in his house and steal the gold.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was kind of an important plot point. Why? What do they want with the gold? And an alien is killed by molten gold. And, like, there's a lot of, like, key moments that revolve around gold, but you don't actually know why do they want gold?
Yeah, that is true. They don't really ever explain.
Who doesn't want gold, am I right? It's fake. It might not be, actually.
Don't tell them that.
It was a... Do you know what? This was a gift to my friend's boyfriend, I think, from an ex-boyfriend. And he didn't want to have anything to do with this guy anymore. So I was like, do you want this bracelet? And I was like, yeah.
Lovely.
And it's how I get most of my jewelry.
That's good. So I remember this film coming out, and I remember. By the way, if you're in the UK and you want to watch this film, good fucking luck, unless you have the DVD or the Blu-ray, because it's on nothing.
James and Nolan wants to watch this film. That's why it's on nothing.
Okay, fine. But like, good luck. But I remember having this on we bought like because it was still slightly pre-streaming era.
It was like Blu-ray era.
Yeah, we bought it on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, and because it's Daniel Craig, right? So
yeah.
And I remember at the time me being like, this film's pretty meh, and my dad being like, that was great. And like him being like, that was good, that was a good laugh. And I was like, I don't know, I thought it was pretty weak. And then I was watching it yesterday in preparation for our discussion, and I was like, I'm having an alright time with this. It's fine. It's not the best film I've ever seen. There's a lot of it that, like you said, amazing cast, completely underused. If anything, there's way too many characters, like too many sort of like main characters.
Ensemble, yeah.
And I think I definitely it's like 2 hours. That's too long.
Yeah.
By the last half an hour, I've checked out, and I actually think maybe what it is the thing I'm really enjoying is a Western with that cast. And then as soon as we actually have to deal with the actual sort of meat of the thing of like, okay, now we've got to battle the aliens, I'm like, I couldn't care less. And the aliens, as is the case in so many films, the aliens are better when you don't see them. Like, so when they first appear at the start, there's a couple of like attacks at the start by the aliens where you don't really see them properly.
Yeah.
And it's so much better than when you actually see them and they kind of look like these sort of weird walking fish frog things.
Well, I think they said they were like inspired by the Predator aliens, which I guess is this armor.
Yeah.
And then the alien.
Yeah.
With the.
And there's almost a direct sort of reference. There's a bit where like someone is like stood there and then the alien sort of is like right in their face and opens its jaw kind of thing, like that sort of famous shot from Alien. And you're like, okay guys, you can't invoke Alien here because Alien's a much better film. Yeah. But I mean, I feel like, is that not... I argue that is most thrillers and horrors and alien films. Like, Signs or things are always scarier when you can't see them. Yeah. And I think that is a bit of a problem with a little bit of the film, is that the last half an hour, for me, gets boring because the aliens, it's now a bit more of a conventional, like, hey, we're doing a shoot 'em up against the aliens, rather than at the start where it's a bit more like, it's a bit like how I much prefer the first Alien film to the sequel Aliens, because in the first Alien film it's like one alien and it's scary and it's like you don't really see it properly. See what
they see.
Yeah. Whereas in Aliens it's like it's a shoot 'em up kind of thing, and they're not really scary anymore, and it's an action film, not a horror film. And I feel like with Cowboys and Aliens, it's like as soon as I see the alien properly, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a bit... but I didn't hate it at all.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I was so bored. I'm sorry, Mr. Albarn, if you're listening. I'm sorry. I just didn't enjoy it.
I don't think he's watched it since 2011, though, when it came out. So I think he would probably...
I mean, there were good bits in it. There were good stunts in it. The stunt at the start of the film, I even wrote this down, actually, because I was like, I could tell there were no cuts in that, and that was impressive, was where Daniel Jake wakes up and there's like 3 bandits and they're about to make him walk off into the desert and shoot him in the back of the head. And he takes them all out. But the thing I'm referencing in particular is that he like launches himself at someone in the saddle and knocks him off the horse. Cool. And I was like, damn, that was impressive. Cool. That was, yeah.
I think that is the thing. I think like...
But see, this is what I'm saying. As a Western, it was so good. And like that really tense first scene in the square with Paul Dano where they set his character up as like a bit of an evil Nepo baby.
Yeah.
And like Sam Rockwell is this snivelling, can't even defend his wife. And it's a lot of, kind of character building.
And Daniel Craig's just stood there looking cool.
Yeah. I thought that was great. I was like, I would watch this. It felt like the beginning. Have you seen the series Godless?
I've watched the beginning of the series Godless, right. So yeah.
Really good. Yeah. Really good Western. That felt like that to me, and I was like, I'd watch 2 hours of this.
And like Daniel Craig as a cowboy, it works. Like he's cool and he's...
That accent slipping though. The accent slips quite a lot. I wrote one down that was really bad. Man. Is that a thing? Do I pick up on...
yeah. Almost every episode, I think.
Don't do it. If you can't do it, don't do it. That's the lesson. He said, I don't remember. Oh, it's when he goes back to his old gang.
Yes.
And
Walton Goggins is playing the same character that Walton Goggins plays in every...
Is he the one that calls his wife a whore?
No, Walton Goggins is the one that he knocks his teeth out.
Continuity, his teeth were totally fine about 2 hours later. Don't know if you noticed
that. No, didn't notice that.
They grew back. But it's where, he's they're punching the bejesus out of him. And I wrote down, takes a good punch. Daniel Craig's very good at stunts.
Yeah, he is.
And he goes...
It's James Bond, man.
He's supposed to go, I don't remember. But he goes, I don't remember. And then they punch and I'm like... Couldn't even remember he was from Arizona. He hit him so hard. But yeah, I was like, you didn't have to do that accent if you could not maintain it. But do you remember him in Glass Onion and he had a drawl?
Yeah.
It was a similar, it's like just on the cusp of not being good.
Yeah.
It was kind of that for me. But I thought he was great in it. I thought the cast were all very good.
We're riding towards absolution. You know how far west we are?
Baby's a dummy.
Is there a reason you're not answering my question?
Look here, Pa. He's got iron on his wrist. He's been shot. Could be done broke out of the hooscow. Might be worth bounty money.
Might could be.
So this was kicking around, dating back to 1997, was when the script was originally picked up. And it went through a huge amount of changes. Eventually was then written as a graphic novel and then made as a film.
I know that it was like a magazine.
I don't think it was a magazine. No, graphic novel, a comic.
A comic?
Yeah.
Jesus.
So originally it was much more comedic in its tone. But while the movie Wild Wild West starring Will Smith put end to that idea, because they were like, oh, people don't like stupid comedy westerns, so let's not do that. But some of the people attached to play the Daniel Craig role over time, Jackie Chan, Brendan Fraser, Chuck Norris.
That's too serious for this film.
Kurt Russell, Mr. T.
What?
From the A-Team.
I don't think that's true.
Bruce Willis. All of them eventually they never got made. The closest one to actually happening was Robert Downey Jr.
I knew that,
and he's the one that
Sherlock, right?
Yeah, and he's the one that brought Jon Favreau on board, and then he dropped out because of Sherlock.
Is that
Holmes.
True? I thought John was on it. Wanted RDJ,
Robert Downey
and then
Jr.
RDJ was like...
Robert Downey Jr. showed it to him on Iron Man 2. And so Jon Favreau came on board because of Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. does the sequel to the Sherlock Holmes thing. So Daniel Craig comes in.
Oh, it was the sequel. I thought it was the.
It was Game of Shadows, yeah. Do you think... Because I was thinking about this when I was watching this film, regardless of... I didn't actually know this history of it while I was watching the film last night. But I was thinking, if this film was made... And obviously this film did terribly at the box office and the sequel never happened. I think they were really wanting it to be sort of a franchise launcher, and it obviously didn't go that way. And so maybe that could have been put down to the tone of the film, which is they play it very straight in the film. And I was thinking about it last night, and actually that was one of the things I liked about it, is that they played it straight and they didn't play it for comedy, and they didn't make it sort of a bit silly and campy. But I was thinking, if they were making this now in 2025, I think it would be a silly campy film, and I think it would be like Chris Pratt in the Daniel Craig role, or like a Ryan Reynolds or something, and it would be all sort of jokey and tongue-in-cheek, and because that feels like that kind of space, that kind of like I guess it is a blockbuster, that kind of like blockbuster thing. If you're making an action movie like that, it does feel like now it has to sort of be, it is that kind of like Marvel Deadpool effect, a little bit of like, it has to be kind of jokey, and it has to kind of be self-referential, and it has to kind of, and I actually appreciated watching it, whatever the flaws are with the film, but like I appreciated that it was kind of like, no, everyone's actually taking this quite seriously, and like they are all playing cowboys, and they are cowboys, they are not cowboys who do a nod and wink to the camera. Like, do you know what I mean? I appreciated that.
Yeah, but I think that there are different scales of that. I think like the nod and wink to the camera, like we didn't need it to be Deadpool versus Wolverine, but like I feel like this film took itself too seriously, because I was watching it going, well, this is ridiculous, and they're taking themselves so seriously. It makes me angry. I just didn't want to watch it anymore. But there were moments of levity with Sam Rockwell's character. I hope I meet that man one day.
He's great.
He is so good. He's so good. And he can be the one that's a bit blustery and a bit, snivelly and weak. And, we got his character fairly early on. But he does it with such integrity that it's not slapstick. And he had, like, quite a lot of moments that I think he was improvising things he was saying. Where one of them, he was like, when he went to help a cowboy who'd been shot in the leg, or it was one of the First Nations people, I can't remember, but someone was shot in the leg on his side, and he was like helping them, and the guy was like, "Am I going to survive?" And and he was going a bit crazy, and Sam was like, "Yeah, you're going to be fine." He had to run off, and he knocked his gun out his hand and he went, "No, don't point it at me," as he got out, and like that kind of made me laugh, and I was like, that was a bit off the cuff, and I was like pretty sure that was improvised. And there was a bit later, do you remember where he sat around the fire when they're making friends with the other humans who aren't aliens? And I don't know, I did that, they're human. And I think he sat next to, is it Nat Colorado, the guy who's like Harrison Ford's adopted son? Or he sat next to someone. I think it is a First Nations person. I think I was wrong. It's not Nat Colorado. But he sat next to him and he's like, do you like do a lot of killing? Do you remember this scene?
Yeah.
How's that going? And like, it was really awkward, but it was quite funny. And like, and then about 20 minutes later, he's rescued his wife, and he has this really tender moment with her, and he goes, "I thought you were dead. I thought you were dead." And he like, that was the only minute that I was like, oh. And he is such an incredible performer that he can do all of that and still seem, totally straight and realistic.
I've always loved Sam Rockwell. Like, one of my favourite films is Moon.
I remember when you told me to watch Moon. I'd never even heard of it. Yeah.
And I love that. I mean, it's slightly soured a little bit because Kevin Spacey is the voice of the robot in it now. But
Forgot about that.
but that film is just,
He's so
it shows what an amazing performer he is, because essentially he is carrying that film on his own because he's the only one in it.
Is it demons?
Demons? Can't rightly say. Sure does fit the description, but
Demons? What are you
I don't
talking
think
about?
that has anything
Talking
to do.
about Bible stuff? Demons.
I'm not talking about anything. We just
What the hell are you talking
gotta
about?
calm down, Doc.
Calm
You're scaring
down?
the boy.
You're telling me a bunch of demons took my
I didn't
wife?
say any such thing now.
Took our people?
Get
You
hold
want
of
me to
yourself.
calm down?
I mentioned the Sam Rockwell thing because I do think it's possible to have the moments of ha-ha, the moments of levity, without it being a slapstick,
Yeah.
down the barrel kind of.
Sure,
Ha-ha.
I just think it, now it would be, maybe it probably wouldn't be a Ryan Reynolds film. I think it would be a Chris Pratt vehicle, wouldn't it? It would be Chris Pratt or someone like that.
Yeah, I think probably.
Maybe
Robert
Hemsworth.
Downey Jr. would have been super different.
Yeah, I think that would be a very different film.
Yeah, I think Daniel Craig was great for it, but I just think he's too gritty for what this film actually was.
Well, my issue, so that we said about the title, and you said, is it Cowboys versus Aliens or Cowboys and Aliens? And I think I agree with you, really. And I think everyone even probably most people even call it Cowboys versus Aliens.
Cowboys and Aliens.
Cowboys and Aliens is a bit of a weird title. But I also think Cowboys and Aliens as a title, which is another reason maybe this film didn't do well in the box office, sort of like psychologically, is I think it sets you up for a different film. I think it sets you up for that kind of like Chris Pratt. I know Chris Pratt wasn't really doing that sort of thing then, but like that kind of like more of a romp kind of a film. Like it's Cowboys and it's Aliens, wah! Whereas if this film had a more serious title, then I don't think it would make up for the faults with the film. But like, I just don't feel like the title matches what the film is.
Would a better title have been?
I don't know, but like, I just feel like Cowboys and Aliens just does set it up to be a bit of a romp and a bit of fun, and like, and it's not.
I agree.
This film is not really a bit of fun. Like,
No.
there's not a lot of fun in it.
I brought the gold to the house. That's why she died.
It's not your fault.
What did you think of the scene where they are shooting with I think they're Apaches, and they throw her body on the fire, and she comes out, Olivia Wilde's character, she comes out the fire, and she's butt naked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do I think of it?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've got any real solid opinion on it, to be honest.
I don't know, maybe this is like woke syndrome, but like when it opens on that scene and all the people playing Indigenous people are like whooping and cheering and beating drums and running around, and I didn't love that. I was like, oh, I like this could either be really offensive or very authentic depending on who worked on the film, but I had a feeling that it maybe wasn't that authentic. And then and then she had like a big old naked scene, which from what I've read, I don't think she loved. Because she was really naked, and she was like, there were about 150 extras and cast members that were just staring at me, and Daniel has to come up to me, put this blanket on me, and he has to do like a down and up look and it like, she just like kind of didn't really sound like she had a great time with it. But what was also weird was that other male cast members mentioned that scene in interviews, and it's a bit weird. They were all like, yeah, it was great. Like, that was a great scene.
We had a great time.
Yeah, that was great. But that was one of those films I was like, this just feels a bit gratuitous.
I think it is. maybe a little gratuitous. Although
I thought the CGI was good though.
Although for the audience, I'm not sure it's that gratuitous because you don't actually see anything. So
do you see her bum?
I'm not even sure you see her bum.
I know. I'm like, I don't know. I can't remember.
Maybe. So
no, I think you do. There's a super wide where he puts the blanket around her.
Okay, so maybe you see a bit of bum, but like in terms of gratuitous nudity, it's not
for the audience.
It's not. Well, I don't know. Like, I guess it is and it isn't because it's not in the sense that like you don't actually see much. So it's not like, suddenly we're treated to a full treated. We're shown
happy birthday.
We're shown a full frontal of Olivia Wilde, but there is also, I think, there's the slight titillating tease of the kind of like, oh, look everybody, like Olivia Wilde's neck. I know there is also I noticed as well. There's a scene earlier on where they've been in the rain or something, and her dress is like
totally see-through,
and there's
on the ship.
There's like a shot of her like by the door, and like some light comes up behind her, and she looks great. Like she looks like great for the role. There is like a kind of like, I think Olivia Wilde's, especially in this film, has got kind of like, there is like a slightly otherworldly look to her.
She's kind of
face, and,
I've always thought she's looks a bit like a model.
Yeah,
like she has that weird look.
And so
beautiful but weird.
And so like when you see her in that scene, you're like, she's striking looking. But I was also a bit like, does the dress need to be entirely see-through at this point?
Well, I thought she'd taken it off, and she was, because it was kind of backlit. I thought that she was in her skivvies.
Yeah.
And like, it's like the first time I've ever said skivvies. I don't know why I said that.
We'll go with it.
What do they call it in the olden days?
I don't know. We'll go with skivvies.
Like petticoats. I thought that was what it was. But then she comes into the light and it's just the dress, and she's just
drenched.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I almost think that's more gratuitous than the scene by the fire later on, in a way.
Yeah, I agree. Where did they get her clothes from?
It's a good point. Yeah, because then she's just like fully dressed again later on.
I don't think there were any other women in that group.
No.
Well, because I remember when they're riding away, and she's like, "Can I ride with you, sir?" or whatever his name is, and he's like, "Yeah, we got a boy and a dog. Why not a woman?"
Yeah.
We were flying. I don't want to do that again. No.
You're a big Marvel fan.
I mean...
Marvel film fan.
I don't know.
Are you not?
People say that to me. I don't think I am. I watch them.
Right.
I'll go to the movies and I'll watch, like, especially when the Avengers films that were coming out, they were a good bit of campy fun, and you know what you're going to get, and you feel good, and you cry when they say cry, and you laugh when they say laugh, and that's reassuring in today's political climate. But there was some I thought that were really good, like Winter Soldier.
Right.
That's just good. That's just great.
Yeah, okay.
Espionage and special.
Why can't you say you're a Marvel fan?
Because there's a lot of stuff about Marvel that I don't know. I haven't seen all of the films. There's a lot of series now that I haven't seen. Like, I haven't seen Loki, and I feel like that's one of the big ones. That's like a big spin-off one that if you're a Marvel fan, you've seen Loki.
Right.
So I don't know that I'm allowed to say I am.
You are an enjoyer of the occasional Marvel movie.
I'm a dabbler. Yeah, a dabble.
So Jon Favreau, a big part of that world. Yeah. What do you think of... Have you seen any other Jon Favreau directed films? And what do you... Oh, he did Elf,
I mean, everyone has. He's done Elf.
Yeah.
I like Jon Favreau a lot.
Okay.
I think he's great. I also like him a lot as an actor. I think do you prefer him as a director or as an actor?
Let me get up Jon Favreau's filmography
just to
right
get
now,
a good
because
idea.
I wouldn't want to... For me, Jon Favreau is complicated because Elf is one of my all-time favourite Christmas films, and I was debating over Christmas whether is my favourite Christmas film of all time Elf, or is it Home Alone? I think I'm leaning towards it being Home Alone.
Home Alone for me.
But, I do love Elf. But then
oh, God, I love Home Alone.
you get complicated with Jon Favreau for me around the Star Wars stuff he's done, because while I like some of it, there's also some that I just really don't like. So he's got a very mixed...
Okay.
A mixed filmography for me.
What was the Star Wars stuff?
So he was heavily involved in The Mandalorian.
You didn't like that?
No, I liked the first 2 series of The Mandalorian. I thought the 3rd series of The Mandalorian was terrible.
Okay, I haven't watched the 3rd.
I didn't like the Book of Boba Fett, which was also not good. And I think he did Ahsoka, which I didn't.
Did he?
I didn't love either.
God, he's doing well, isn't he?
I do like him as a screen presence.
Did you?
I haven't seen Chef, which is the one that everyone says is his sort of magnum opus of a film.
Yeah, that was a real passion project for him.
Yeah.
Chef was really good. It was great.
And I like I said, I love Elf. I didn't mind Cowboys and Aliens for the most part. I thought it was... I mean, he didn't write it, to be fair to him. He was just directing. I like him as a screen presence, though. I always kind of enjoy him when he's on screen.
Yeah, same. I think he's funny. I love him as Happy in the Spider-Man... Well, in the Marvel MCU, I guess. But...
He's also in The Breakup, which we forgot.
No, I didn't forget. I knew that he was in The Breakup. Because he's the friend.
He's the friend, yeah. And
he's like, why do you ever do things? We only ever come to see the games when it's your team.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's that guy.
Yeah.
I don't think he had much to work with for this script, you know? I can't believe this was in the works since 1997.
In different forms. Like, don't get me wrong, this script that they are working with now is a completely different...
Oh, right, okay.
Like,
there were different, iterations of...
Very different iterations, different people coming in and out. So this was definitely not the script that existed in 1997. This script was written by Alex Kurtzman and Roberto Orci, which they did the Star Trek films for J.J. Abrams, the sort of first 2.
With Chris Pine.
With Chris Pine, who, again, would have been good for... this kind of film, I guess. I love a bit of Chris Pine. But again, for a different...
Don't love a bit of Chris Pratt.
No, but for a different tone, again. I think a Chris Pine one would have been different. I think if you're going with the surly cowboy... Daniel Craig does the surly sort of... He'll beat the shit out of you kind of cowboy quite well, I think.
Yeah, so I think I'm maybe in the minority here in that this is a bit harsh, maybe I won't say this.
No, go on. You've started it now.
I know.
Is this where the podcast ends? Because we don't speak to each other anymore.
I try and be careful with making personal remarks about actors in terms of anything not performance related. Because I feel like that stuff is then out of their control. But I don't think that he's a very attractive person.
Oh, I've heard a lot of people say that.
I think he's kind of, honestly, he's kind of scary looking to me. So I agree. I think in this kind of, is he about to pistol whip me or kiss me? In that space, great. He's great. But I don't think that he is I think that when you're looking at other people like Chris Pine or a bunch of the other people you mentioned, I was like, well, I think that they're all actually just a bit too pretty and good looking.
Yeah, but I think I'm thinking of those people in the context of we're making this now and it's a bit more...
You want people that are culturally relevant.
Yeah, and it's lighter. It's a lighter thing. I think...
Did you see Daniel Craig in his... This was... Actually, around this time, his comic relief special with Catherine.
Yes. Yeah.
That was fucking great.
Yeah, I love Daniel Craig. I'm a big Daniel Craig fan. I don't know if I've said on this podcast before.
I think he's my favourite James Bond.
I'm a James Bond fan. I love Daniel Craig as James Bond. I will always have a soft spot for Pierce Brosnan because he was my first. But Daniel Craig is...
In that ice hotel. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, that was a bad
one.
one.
That?
I've done another day. It was a bad one.
Was that Halle Berry in that one?
Yeah, that is the worst one. But like, I think Daniel Craig. There's certainly an argument for him. Is he the best Bond? I think it's between him and Connery for me. Like, it's a difficult one. Yeah.
Not Roger Moore.
This is a slight sidetrack here, because on New Year's Eve, well, we started. So I spent New Year's with my parents, and New Year's Eve we started by watching Anatomy of a Fall.
Okay. No spoilers, I haven't seen it.
But we didn't get all the way through it because we got an hour in, and my mum didn't quite realise that half the film was going to be in French. And she was feeling a bit tired. So she was struggling with watching and reading the subtitles. So we turned that off. And I was like, it's a French film. So then we watched, I think it was on at cinema as well, but over Christmas period in the UK, it was on the BBC. There was a documentary about Roger Moore, about his life. Oh. And it was narrated by Steve Coogan, doing his Roger Moore impression. So it was like Roger Moore narrating. It was all very tongue-in-cheek and like funny.
Oh, right, okay.
But it was narrated by like him doing Roger Moore. And me and my dad were saying this, like, we don't actually, we've never been a fan of him as James Bond, but we love Roger Moore, but like, we just don't love him as Bond.
Or do you love Steve Coogan's Roger Moore?
No, I think Roger Moore was kind of cool. Like, he was a cool guy. And
handsome man.
And handsome man. And like, yeah, like, we really like Roger Moore, and we really wanted to see this Roger Moore film. We didn't actually know that Steve Coogan was narrating it until we were watching the film. But like, never liked him as Bond particularly.
It's funny when you go back and you watch old films, because I think a lot of Christmas is about film nostalgia, in my household anyway. And so when you go back and you watch these old films about what was beautiful then in a woman or in a man, and what was sexy then, and would they be cast in a film like Cowboys and Aliens now? Like, I saw Top Hat over Christmas, which had Ginger, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. And she's gorgeous. 50s pin-up style, you know, and then he looks a bit like the kind of dodgy producer you wouldn't want to be left in a room alone with. But he just dances like water. Like, they're incredible together. But I was like, so funny about how women adored him, and and that just wouldn't be a thing now. But then, like, I also watched Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, and that is just like eye candy start to finish. The Seven Lumberjacks. My goodness. That's one of my favourite films. It was my grandma's favourite. It's one of my mum's favourites, and like, we watch it every Christmas. And but still, it's that kind of male beauty does not translate to now. Yeah. And you wouldn't have someone in the role that Daniel Craig was in.
Even only 10 years after the film is released, it would be different. I read something, and I never thought about this until I read it, but they said one of the reasons they thought of Daniel Craig for this role was because he looked like Steve McQueen in The Magnificent Seven.
Yeah, I read that too.
And I
think that's true?
I don't
think they look alike, but I mean, do you think that had anything to do with the casting, where they went, he looks similar to an actor in the 50s that was in a similar role, so we'll cast him? That seems weird to me.
I think it's one of those ones where maybe, yes, they said it in the casting route. They said it in the discussions about casting in a very throwaway, like, it was like, shall we get Daniel Craig? Yeah, Daniel Craig's great, isn't he? Yeah, I like Daniel Craig. Does he look a bit like Steve McQueen? Oh yeah, he does a bit. And then someone said it then in an interview, and then it becomes a thing that it never really was. Or someone has said it in an interview going, he's got a bit of that sort of Steve McQueen, you know, in Magnificent Seven about him. And then people then spin that as like, he was cast for this reason. And
But I mean, also there's always, you know, there are always conversations about characters that are based on other characters and other things.
Yeah.
And so you pick an actor who's got a bit of that about them.
Yeah. And I can see what they are saying. I don't think the look thing is the same, but
It's
I can
like the
see
energy.
that sort of energy with him.
And it's the...
Yeah, it's that kind of smolder and
Steve
the kind
used
of,
to do that a lot. I think I used to have a... What was the one that he did? It wasn't The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It was like Live Fast, Die Young or something. And I used to have that on a t-shirt when I was a teenager. And it was Steve McQueen going...
Yeah, because Good, the Bad, the Ugly, Eastwood, isn't
Clint
it?
Eastwood.
Yeah.
Mind following me over to the office so we can have us a little chat?
I think you got the wrong man.
Well, I'm gonna need you to come with us all the same.
Wouldn't do that if I was you.
It worldwide grossed, bear in mind, $163 million budget. It only grossed 175 mil. Which is sad, isn't it? Do you know what it was rated on IMDb?
I'm guessing not very good.
6 out of 10.
Okay.
Rotten Tomatoes, 44%.
Wow.
It was a bad film, James.
I didn't mind it. I just didn't think it was that bad. I was, yeah, sure, a little bored.
That's not a good thing.
No, I know, but I think it is just the cast. I think the cast alone for the first sort of hour 20. Right. Granted, there's still about 40 minutes of film left after that. Mm-hmm. But the first sort of hour or so, I'm perfectly entertained because, it's Daniel Craig and there's Harrison Ford and there's Sam Rockwell being charming and brilliant and there's and Olivia Wilde's all right in it. And do you know what I mean? It's and then Paul Dano gets a good sort of scene at the start. It's a shame he's not in it more.
He's so good.
But, I think the cast alone kept me going for long enough that I was kind of okay.
But
then when the alien stuff starts to really kick off, I think the last good alien scene is where Olivia Wilde gets killed, actually, for the first time, where you have the whole thing where the aliens come in the little ships and they're pulling cowboys off their horses, throwing them into the air. And then Danny Craig chases the ship on his horse and jumps onto it. I kind of liked that action sequence. And then after that, I'm kind of and that's where you get the first full-blown, here's the alien in the daylight and it doesn't look as good as you would hope. And that kind of after that, I'm kind of check out of the film, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. I checked out pretty much after the first alien spaceship is featured.
Right.
25 minutes? Yeah, around that.
Rise and shine. You're in trouble now. You're gonna burn. Yeah, my pa's coming for me. He learned how to kill a man good and slow in the war. I am gonna watch you suffer for a long time.
What would you give Cowboys and Aliens out of 5 alien dogs? I don't know.
1.5 alien dogs.
Wow.
I was so bored. And I just if it was just aliens, probably would have been higher. If it was just cowboys, probably would have been higher. I was so bored that when they were climbing up the spaceship to put the bomb inside the hangar, I was looking at it and I was going, it's probably a V2. A V1, V2, probably. Which is a climbing reference. That's how bored I was. So yeah, 1.5 alien dogs.
I'm gonna go straight down the middle and go 2.5.
Okay.
Alien dogs. I'm kind of like
why?
because like I said, I kind of enjoyed it for a bit.
Sure.
And then it was too long and boring. So I was kind of like, yeah, you know, it's kind of meh.
I just thought of something that I thought was quite scary. And I thought to get the emotion out of me that's actually quite scary.
Was it where the little hands came out of the middle of the...
I thought that was mildly offensive, actually. The bit where they make it into the ship and all of the captive people that are about to be harvested are like this.
Oh,
and they're all just like standing like puppets and their eyes are a bit glazed over. That I was like, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
To the point where if I was Daniel Craig rescuing them, I would have seen that and gone,
nope,
they're lost. lost cause.
Yeah.
But I thought that was great. That was very eerie and spooky, and I thought that was good.
So now is the time of the podcast where we dive into the credits of the film we have just watched.
Right now.
And I will present 3 crew members to Elsa, and from that, she will pick one of them, and we will arrive at the film that we'll be talking about next week.
Right.
So, I've gone with all women this week. In a film dominated by men, I thought we'll go all female on the crew front. So, Mary Zoffres, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, probably not, the costume designer.
Oh, they were good.
We have Laurie Campbell, the set designer. And we have a brilliant name, the stunt performer, Heidi Moneymaker. Come on.
We've had another moneymaker.
Have we?
Yeah. What did Heidi Moneymaker do?
She was a stunt performer.
But as, like, was she Olivia's or just a general?
Couldn't find more information on that. But I looked at her IMDb page. She's fucking jacked. But she's a stunt performer, so. But, like, Jesus Christ.
I want to be jacked. I can't even finish a protein shake. Half of it's over
like,
there.
full on, like, washboard, the arms. Like,
that's great.
Yeah.
Strong.
Yeah. She's a stunt performer.
Yeah. Well, not to shit on the set, but Arizona kind of dressed itself. Mm-hmm. The Western set was great.
Yep.
The Alien set was meh.
Yeah, okay.
But the Western set was really, really good. Good job, Laurie. The costumes were really, really good. But the stunts were like the only thing I really complimented about this film. So I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say we haven't had a stunt person in a while. I'm gonna say Heidi Moneymaker.
Well, therefore, Elsa.
Oh, you're happy about it, whatever it is.
Well, I think you'll be happy with this. I hope. But we've sort of discussed Marvel earlier in the episode. Oh, no. We haven't watched a Marvel film yet on the podcast, so we are watching the first Avengers film, The Avengers, from 2012. What's wrong with that?
Nothing. When did that come out?
2012.
Did it?
Yeah. A year after Cowboys and Aliens.
Yeah, so this is...
So Heidi obviously carried on working with Jon Favreau.
I don't even know if I'll need to watch it again. I think I've seen this film enough times. Yeah.
To be able to talk about it.
Yeah, I rate it though.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Cool. So, join us next time when we will be watching The Avengers. Thank you very much for watching, and do all the usual stuff, share it with your friends and all that, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Yep.